Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the public delegation evening of the 2012 Budget Committee. We will, when we're finished tonight, recess and continue again on Tuesday, February 7th at 9:30 a.m. So we do have an evening and a morning for allowing people to come and speak. Before we go any further, any member of the public wishing to speak further regarding an issue on the 2012 Budget Committee agenda may appear before Council at its meeting on February 13th, 2012 at 7 p.m. when the recommendations from this meeting will go forward for final consideration. If you wish to speak as a delegation, please sign the sheet located at the back of the room or notify the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the Council meeting. Any PowerPoint presentations must also be forwarded to the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the meeting. I don't have any regrets from members of the committee today. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? I see none. We have no consent items or confidential consent items. We have a single discussion item, which is regarding the 2012 budget. I have before myself here 12 individuals who have given us their names and wish to speak this evening. Should we not complete tonight, then of course they will be able to come forward. I fully expect and hope that will be completed this evening, however. Members of staff, are there any preliminary comments that need to be made this evening? No. Okay, then we're ready to go forward with Paul Varian, the CAO of the Oakville Soccer Club. Welcome, and you have up to 10 minutes, and we look forward to your information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Budget Committee, it's with great pleasure that we present before you here today on behalf of Oakville Soccer Club. My name is Paul Varian. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer of Oakville Soccer Club. I'm joined by our newly elected President, Jennifer Medill, our Vice President, Vince D'Amico, and our Club Treasurer, Andy Potter. It's our collective honour to serve in stewardship of the largest amateur sports club in Canada and the largest amateur soccer club of any description largest amateur soccer club in the whole of North America. Oakville Soccer Club has been described over the last year by many, including soccer's governing bodies, as the gold standard in Canadian club soccer and an example for others to follow. We credit our success not only to our tremendous players, coaches, referees and volunteers, but also to the exceptionally strong relationship that we enjoy with the town of Oakville. We constantly say that it's through the provision and maintenance of top soccer fields and facilities that the club is able to grow and provide healthy, active lifestyles to close to 18,000 aggregate registrants in Oakville every year through soccer participation. No greater example of this winning partnership between a private sports club and a public municipality exists than a Pine Glen Soccer Centre. This leading-edge 100,000 square foot indoor soccer facility has in just 3 short years become an integral component of the club's soccer programming and the envy of Ontario and Canadian soccer. Its provision means the club now offers a year-round youth soccer development program that is considered by many to be the finest in Canada. And crucially, the facility is already a stable financial going concern, in which Oakville Soccer Club is able to finance license repayments to the town entirely through the facility's operations. Some capital improvement work has been identified at Pine Glen Soccer Centre in 2011 that will improve operational efficiency and patron health and safety at the facility when completed. A letter has been sent to Council detailing this retrofit work, which we look forward to seeing undertaken and completed this summer, in time for the return for indoor programs in September 2012. This will allow the club to maintain the centre as a leading-edge soccer facility in Canada and one that continues to have the capability to pay for itself. So, councillors and members of committee, we bring 2 fundamental messages today. Our first message is of thanks. Thanks for the tremendous commitment you've shown to our club. You have a dedicated staff who it's our pleasure to work with. We respect and greatly value the strength of our relationship with you, and I've no doubt this great partnership will continue. Our second message builds on this. We urge you to support further expansion of sport capital in Oakville. Our club continues to grow. Demand for our programs is increasing as public respect for the importance of an active lifestyle in children also grows. Residents of Oakville demand soccer, and we have wait lists on our programs that will only get longer without the development of new soccer fields. In particular, we urge you to increase the inventory of soccer fields north of Highway 5. Oakville Soccer Club calculates it will need at least 8 new fields in North Oakville to manage projected population, player and programme growth through 2015. Crucial to this is the further build-out of the multi-sport facility at North Park. We encourage the design and development of this facility for shared multiple sport use to drive economies of scale, increase productivity and risk mitigation. Such development should include another indoor facility similar to Pine Glen Soccer Centre, built and financed on the same basis, whereby facility capital cost is paid for by the club over the term of an operating licence with the town of Oakville. Such a venture moves goals laid out in town planning documents. In particular, it executes the key action 2012 to 2014 to pursue partnership opportunities for development of North Park facilities, which executes the goal to continually improve programmes and services in Council's strategic plan and 2011 to 2014 work plan. Oakville Soccer Club and Oakville Gymnastics Club have already had exploratory discussions about collaborating on such a venture that will allow both clubs to focus advanced elite athlete development programs at the facility with specialised athlete support services that multiple sports can share. This will allow Canada's finest athletes to proudly bear the mark made in Oakville, whilst importantly freeing up space and time at the existing facilities at Pine Glen and at Glen Abbey to cater for growing recreational user needs. An initial joint club discussion paper regarding this venture was tabled with staff at the town of Oakville last year, and we encourage Council to strongly consider the proposal through which a successful public-private partnership can again unlock tremendous civic value. In supporting it, you'll be continuing to support sport partners who are demonstrated to be reliable, trustworthy, and capable of delivering such projects successfully for the betterment of all. Through projects like these, you can bring sport and recreational opportunity in Oakville to new heights, and as Commissioner Leonardo said in his presentation to the committee last week, help make Oakville, Oakville. In closing, we remain grateful for what the town has done for the sport of soccer. The very fact that we are here today urging you to expand sport facilities in Oakville is testimony to the success of your commitment. We will continue to work with town staff under the guidelines of Council's new strategic plan and Parks, Recreation and Culture's master plan, and we urge you to continue supporting a proven partner in Oakville Soccer Club to expand soccer facilities in Oakville, including the North Park initiative I have outlined. I'll leave you with one final but important message. Investment in these facilities is not just for fun or arbitrary entertainment. It's an investment in Oakville's youth in all respects, in its long-term physical and mental health, its early childhood education, its social inclusion. And perhaps most importantly, it's an investment in the confidence in every child in Oakville needs to be successful in life. All of this for the same tax dollar, all of this for every Oakville resident, and all of this to make Oakville the most livable town in Canada. Thank you for taking the time to listen today, and we look forward to taking any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? I don't see any. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, members.
Mr. Zane Coate, President of the Oakville Cricket Club. Welcome, and we look forward to your information. We do have in front of us two pieces of information, which I think members of the committee, you should have this in front of you already. Welcome. You have up to 10 minutes. Okay.
Honourable Councillors, thank you so much for having us here today. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Manik Pan. I am the Vice President of the Oakville Cricket Club. Besides me here is Mr. Zane Coate. He's the President of the Oakville Cricket Club, and Mr. Titus Sequeira, who is also an executive with our club. We are here with you today to speak to you about a request for a better cricket facility. As you can move on to a little bit about our club itself. We were basically established in the year 2000, primarily by 4 founding members who were just parents trying to teach their kids how to play a beautiful game that they love themselves. We have been a core member ever since, and we have been an integral part of the Hamilton District Cricket Club and try our best to do better each year with them. We have so far, starting with the 4 founding members in 2000, come up strong in about 45 to 50 members who are paid members and span the age group of 14 to 55. Now, that starts with our junior program all the way into integrating all our older individuals, everybody with the common goal of enjoying the game of cricket. The beauty of the whole club is the actual age group, but also the diversification and the multiculturalism that we show. And you will see that we have diverse ethnic backgrounds coming all the way from the South Asian countries of India, Pakistan, but also from West Indies, Australia, even Holland and South Africa. And an integral part of it is all the Commonwealth countries basically who play the game, and I would say secondary to soccer is probably the most loved game in the world. On to the next one here. Our main goal today is to talk to you about our current cricket facility at Glenashton Park. With you there are two letters, one from Cricket Canada and one from our Hamilton District League. If you can move on to that, the last 2 pages. The letter from Hamilton District League is basically asking, is addressed to our president, Mr. Zan Coate, talking about how their facilities are not of adequate standards. We know this, known this for a couple of years, but at this point, we've come to a standstill where the league is basically asking us to get better grounds for us to be able to play there in the coming years. Now, the next slide shows you for an example of a beautiful ground in Mississauga, and this is the Iceland Cricket Ground by the Iceland Hockey Rink and Sports Center. This is basically showing you the basic dimensions of a cricket field. As you can see, it's a very nice oval shaped, and our field seems to have the same thing, but as you can tell, there's a good length to the ground, but it's not of adequate width. And this poses a bit of a problem looking at the amount of traffic that we have in the grounds area. Just 1 second. Okay, here we go. So, as we sit here with you now, talking about the fact that we don't meet the game standards, so to speak, we have this past year as a club achieved major goals. We entered a second team into the league, and we were able to in our first year win the whole Hamilton District division, and for us that was a tremendous achievement. And at the same time, our premier team also made it to the quarterfinals. Unfortunately, we were not able to meet the standards to even hold any playoff games. So even though we were home teams for some of the games, we could not play the games at our home ground, giving way to the beautiful grounds in Hamilton, Mississauga, and Burlington, all of which have been given beautiful grounds by their respective municipalities. We do have immense pleasure knowing that the town has proposed to us to give us a dedicated pitch at North Park in 2015, which is a great something to look forward to. Yet, for the next few years, we do need something where we can grow the sport of cricket within our grounds. And so our primary request here is for an interim cricket facility, and we do have a suggestion for that is a ground out in West Oak Trails. The main reason we are here today to talk to you about getting a better ground, as I mentioned earlier, we are a traveling team. We have teams coming in from as far as Mississauga, all the way out to St. Catharines, and as well as Cambridge. So that Golden Triangle, teams from all over come and they like to play. They know about the city or town of Oakville, but when they come see our grounds, they are left wondering about the amount of the type of services that we offer. And we would love to be able to showcase the town of Oakville as well as our beautiful town, as well as the grounds and the facilities. And would really appreciate if our request was taken with heed and given a better ground that would make us, be able to at least showcase the grounds as if we have, we would be able to hold playoff games as well as a championship, since we are likely to defend for next year. Moving along, just wanted to just show us what we were able to accomplish this year. As you see here, winner of the Division II championships and runner-up in the Premier Division. And wanted to talk a little bit about our future vision. Having the dedicated ground given to us in 2015 is a great honor, and we know that we can build the sport to a great length, as our colleagues here at the Oakville Soccer Club have been able to do in the previous many years. We're a young club, but with the right leadership as well as the right support from the town, I believe we can make it to that point. We would like to be able to encourage cricket to young Canadians. I would like you to just pass on to the Cricket Canada letter, if you can, from the President of Cricket Canada, who mentions a great amount of work being done to nurture the young talent within our country at many levels. He does talk about the fact that we have people going into schools and trying to get cricket as part of the curriculum, and right now it is actually a part of 1,800 schools all across Canada, and we'd like to be able to do that in Oakville, but unfortunately for that we need adequate grounds as well. And we would like to be able to nurture talent for provincial and national representation, which is, the great goal. We have had so many athletes coming out of this town for various sports. I'd like to be able to one day say that we have somebody playing the game of cricket and representing the national team from Oakville. And with the greater numbers, I would like to see greater community involvement within our group, as well as my goal personally is to increase our membership to at least 250 by the 2015 time when we have our dedicated North Park. There we go. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions, I would love to be able to do.
Thank you for your information. Other questions? Councillor Elgar and then Councillor Demoff.
Thank you for coming forward. I'm just wondering where it would fit in West Oak Trails. Like there's 2 fenced-in soccer fields and there's a fenced-in ball diamond. Where do you see it fitting there?
At this time, what we have looked at is possible alternatives, as we said, to what we have at this time. The West Oak Trails complex there, it would be within a soccer field area that we found was of greater length than the field that we currently have. And the dimensions of it we can sort of specify as well if you like, but it's the way you sort of place the pitch in not exactly in the center, but when we did the markups, it seemed to be a much better option than what we have right now. And this was already proposed to the Hamilton District League, and they're for it with us.
So the existing soccer
complex, the field,
the field, that one of the fields,
one of
the fields, obviously.
Exactly.
And could it be used for both then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Demoff.
I had no idea cricket was our national sport. When did that...
That was Sir Johnny MacDonald, as it says.
I saw that in here.
Obviously that changed at a later time, but yes, that is true.
Have you talked to our staff about any other locations besides West Oak Trails? Are there any other places in Oakville that you could put a temporary facility, or is that the only one that would work?
I want to answer that.
No, in fact, we were looking for another facility for last 5 years vigorously, but we couldn't. Originally, the North Park, our search ended because North Park was promised to be ready by 2010. And because of that, we didn't, and we kept telling our league that, look, within a couple of years, our ground is coming. This is, I'm talking about since 2006. And it didn't happen, and now it is prolonged until 2015. So this is the time when league said, when they came to know that it's prolonged for 2015, they said, you have to have at least adequate cricket ground where the ball, Glen Ashton is just half a size. So that West Oak Trail, at least it can be held, the games can be held, and league officials and umpires, they don't have any objection to that. But to answer your question directly, yes, there is no, at least I couldn't find any other location so far. I have not stopped looking for. As soon as every day I drive to work and I look around and see if there is any ground, but I couldn't find, honestly.
And I may have missed it in here, but what's your membership now? I know you want to grow it to 250, but how many have you got playing right now?
Yeah, we have about 45 members who are active participants.
Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you so much for your time.
Any further questions? Thank you very much. Members of the committee, I suspect that over the course of the various delegations, there'll be times when we might wish to ask our staff to comment on issues that arise. This might be one of them. Would you like to have Mr. Mark provide any update with respect to where he is on this thinking? Mr. Mark, are you prepared to comment on the timing of the work in the north and any other discussions you may have had with respect to cricket fields?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we have actively looked at an option for the cricket club. We've looked at several sites. The problem is the cricket field is extremely large. Glen Ashton, we did put a new wicket into Glen Ashton last year because that was their choice at that time. So we spent about $25,000 putting a new wicket into Glen Ashton Park last year, and pretty much have made that, excuse me, pretty much all cricket facility. It was a field hockey pitch at one time, but unfortunately the wicket in the center of the field was a little bit higher than the existing turf around it, so the rolling of the field hockey ball was always problematic in hitting the wicket and then popping up and possibly hitting somebody. So we've really dedicated at this point in time Glen Ashton Park to cricket. There's a little bit of soccer that's played on it, so we've tried to help out the club as best we can in terms of giving them that facility. As I say, pretty much all allocated for cricket. West Oak Trails does have some possibilities. We'd have to look at it a little more closely. Again, if it went there, it would have to have a wicket put in the field. Maybe some safety concerns and issues with trying to play soccer at the level that's played on West Oak Trails fields, and cricket as well with the wicket that's there in terms of possible tripping hazards and other problems with the wicket being down the center of the field. Generally, cricket is played on a solely cricket facility. It's not often that it's put on two different sports. In the North Park, what we were hoping to do was actually balance a cricket field against in the middle of two soccer fields. So you've got the cricket wicket down the middle of two soccer fields, and the wicket itself would actually not come into play and be a problem for the other sport being soccer. So a wicket in a soccer field is problematic, but so we have to look at that very closely. In terms of the north, we do have a potential cricket facility in our plans for North Oakville. Right now, based on our existing 10-year forecast, that's at about 2015, 2016, with design hopefully occurring in 15 and construction in 2016. So we have been working with the club over the last number of years, trying to work with them in terms of a temporary facility. We are committed to giving them a home field when the opportunity and the affordability arises. So that's a bit of background on the work we've been doing with the club.
Thank you very much. I think that's helpful. Are there any other questions for our staff, given that background? Councillor DeMoff?
Have you looked at any of the older fields that are used? I'm thinking particularly the park in behind Brookdale Pool, which is a really large park with a couple of baseball diamonds. Is anything in that type of park suitable for cricket?
We have looked at that particularly. It's the size. Cricket actually takes up about two major baseball diamonds, and when you get the grading that has to occur for cricket to occur, we've looked at almost every site in the town. Mr. Coate and I have actually spent a fair bit of time together driving around and looking at facilities, and he's called me and I've gone and looked at them. We've looked at them together, so I'm very confident in telling council we've explored almost every opportunity on our existing fields. Size is one of the problems given the size of cricket and the nature of the game.
Thank you very much, and I think we all know that it's being considered within the Parks and Rec master planning process as well.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you very much. The next delegation is Laura Klemenchuk and Sandy McDonald, Spirit of Sport Committee. Welcome, and you have up to 10 minutes, and we look forward to your information.
Thank you very much. Good evening, members of the Budget Committee. My name is Sandy McDonald, and this is Laura Klemenchuk. We are here to speak on behalf of the Spirit of Sport Committee and the School Council of T.A. Blakelock High School. We are a dedicated group of staff, students, alumni, and friends of T.A. Blakelock High School. We would like to bring an exciting project at Blakelock to the Budget Committee's attention. The Spirit of Sport Committee is working in partnership with the Halton District School Board to enhance the track and field facilities at Blakelock to include a multi-lane rubberized track and artificial turf field. We believe that this very safe, incredibly durable, low-maintenance, highly functional, tremendously versatile, all-season artificial field surface will become a destination for many sporting and community groups. We hope that the town of Oakville will consider partnering with our committee in this endeavor by including this project for consideration in the town's 10-year capital forecast.
Soccer, football, rugby, and field hockey clubs seek all-weather fields for practice and play. Located centrally in southwest Oakville, the facilities at Blakelock service many community groups. With the enhancement of the track and field facilities, we see Blakelock meeting even more of the growing needs of our community. The scope of the project includes a new track, an artificial turf field, bleachers, and a scoreboard. Our goal is to create a facility that will be a destination for local and perhaps regional groups. We are investigating alternative energy sources as part of the project. We see an opportunity to piggyback on the Energy Specialty High Skills Major program at TA Blakelock with the exploration of geothermal energy. The opportunity to meld sports and physical education with academic curriculum is a very exciting one.
The Halton District School Board has committed $600,000 to the project, which is projected to cost $1.4 million. The track will be replaced in the late spring. The Spirit of Sport Committee was created to make the most of this opportunity and to enhance the field at TA Blakelock. We hope to work in partnership with the town of Oakville, the Halton District School Board, and community groups to create an amazing sports facility at TA Blakelock.
We see potential to maximize usage and rental time with the artificial turf surface. We see this as a win-win-win. The community wins by having access to an amazing all-weather sports field. The Halton District School Board acquires a valuable asset which expands the program options to its students. And the town of Oakville is better able to meet the needs of our community through enhanced rental availability of premium facilities. It is our hope that the town of Oakville will work together with the Spirit of Sport Committee and the staff of the Halton District School Board to make this incredible project a reality. Thank you very much for your time and considerations, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Councillor Elgar?
Yeah, thank you for coming tonight. I'm just trying to figure out, you mentioned geothermal energy. How does that fit into a track? Like, I'm trying to connect the dots.
We have a particular program at TA Blakelock. It's a high skills specialty major program where the students have access to a 2-year program that allows them to explore energy at a different level. It's a specific track for the educational process. The geothermal option will provide an opportunity for the kids to look at that. While we're excavating the tracks, the field site and the track site, it'll give us an opportunity to dig deep and have that be an option available for the kids to explore as part of their curriculum.
Like 200 feet deep?
Potentially. The Halton District School Board is looking at the options of how to do that. That's not necessarily our committee, the Spirit of Sport Committee. That is the Facilities Department of the Halton District School Board, exploring the potential opportunities that are available to us when we excavate for the field and the track.
It doesn't seem like you have to dig 200 feet for a track. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of bedrock you were putting in there.
Apparently there are horizontal geothermal and then there are vertical geothermal, and that they're exploring.
Okay, so maybe you're going horizontal then.
I believe that they're looking vertical, but again, I'm not the facilities person to speak to.
What kind of lighting do you want to put on that track if you're going to be renting it out to make money?
Nothing more than 1 lux. No, we aren't looking at we aren't looking at lighting options for the field.
No lighting options, and you think it'll rent out a lot during the school day? Like, I'm just trying to understand the business plan. That's all. Like, can you help me?
In terms of the lighting, or in terms of the
No,
rental?
just in terms of the project that you're trying to do, where you want an artificial turf, right? You want the artificial turf, similar to, I think there's a few high schools like that now in Oakville.
In the Catholic board, yes.
Correct.
Not in the public board.
Okay, yes. So now in the Catholic board, I believe they paid for it. Is the Halton District School Board saying they will pay for it at this point?
At this point, the Halton District School Board has committed $600,000 toward the refurbishment of our track facilities, and then we are looking to help to raise money and funds for the Halton District School Board, and we're looking for involvement for community, perhaps the town. We're looking for it to be a joint venture between multiple groups.
So the number you're looking, you've got 600,000 for a 1.4 million project right now.
$800,000.
800, yeah, okay. Thanks very much.
Councillor DeMoff?
There were two other communities who put in this type of thing in partnership with municipalities, were there not? That there was one in Georgetown, and was Burlington a partnership with the municipality as well? Have you started doing any fundraising for it yet?
We haven't started yet. We've been waiting to get the go-ahead from the board, and we got it in the last couple of weeks, so we're very pleased and thrilled to have them on board with us. And we wanted to bring this initiative before the Budget Committee and to explore opportunities with the town before we go out to the community.
And following on Councillor Elger's question, if I'm not mistaken, because we have spoken about this, one member of your committee has spoken with the town staff about potential rentals. And there was interest in just general terms, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
In general terms, absolutely. The more that we put on the site to make it more rentable, the better, obviously. For obvious reasons, through the school year, there is limited rental due to lighting and also due to school use. In the summertime, there would be more opportunity for use because the school is no longer using it. Of course, that is peak season for soccer and many sport.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Johnson?
Yes, thank you for coming out. Have you shared your business plan with anyone at the town yet? With staff?
I don't believe so. We are really very much at the very beginning portions of this. We just recently got the go-ahead from the Halton District School Board to move forward with this plan. So this is, what we're hoping is that we're just bringing this to the Budget Committee's attention. We're very much, we are the fundraising arm, and we are just about to embark on this. We're in the process of building our business plan, and we'll be ready to present that to any interested parties in the near future.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any others? Thank you very much. Now, you had some speaking notes, and you may have some other documentation that you might wish to share with us. If you do, if there's anything you could leave with us, I think it would be helpful. We could make copies ourselves. We'd be happy to do that. If there's other materials you'd like to circulate to us, then please send them over by email or drop them off, whichever. But I think it would be helpful for members to be able to see a more complete set of documentation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time this evening. Alex Murphy or Daniela Morowitz from the Chartwell Maple Grove Residents Association. And/or, depending on who's presenting. Welcome. You have up to 10 minutes.
Thank you. Chairman Adams, members of the Budget Committee, other members of Council. I'd like to preface my remarks by acknowledging the work that this committee does, the good work this committee does. It is a huge commitment to wade through the reams of data, make responsible decisions, and live with them. And I commend you for your dedication and your motivation, and I certainly believe you're not in it for the money. Anyway, that said, when we presented our concerns at this meeting last year, we asked that Council take the position that town expenses should increase by no more than the rate of inflation, plus population growth, plus necessary expenditures for capital projects. We were pleased to see that the town's directive to staff actually included limitations at the rate of inflation. We were not, however, expecting a creative interpretation of exactly what that means. The point of restricting tax increases to the level of inflation is to limit them to the level of inflation experienced by the taxpayer, which, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, was around 2 to 3%. To say that the town has a different market basket and to construct its own unique calculation of inflation at 4.1% as a way to cover additional tax increases is unacceptable. If negotiated contracts are pushing personnel costs up beyond the average level of inflation, then perhaps something needs to be done about that. If construction costs are higher than inflation, some other costs will also be lower. Let's work towards more clarity, not obscurity, in these reports. The application of performance-based budgeting also somewhat clouds the ability of council and taxpayers to determine if they are receiving the best value for their money. I've reviewed too many, of the performance measurements included in the 2012 and the 2011 budget. There are very few performance measures that include a financial component. There are even less that have emphasis on finding efficiencies. Where is the incentive for saving money by doing more with less? There's also a concerning number of instances where objectives are not met, so the target is lowered for the following year. There is also no inclusion of past year's results in current year documents, so this isn't always visible. I would think that trends in meeting or missing objectives would be important. We would ask that a closer look be taken at these objectives and that fiscal responsibility take a bigger role in performance assessment. Measuring results should also have a solid financial aspect. The desired outcome of programs is not only to achieve satisfactory service levels, but to do so efficiently and at a reasonable cost. Lastly, we would like to thank this committee and town staff for explaining the 38.5% increase in taxes levied by the town for its own expenses over the past 5 years. As is often the case, more information leads to more questions. And most of these questions arise from the town's maintenance of 2 accounting systems and the inability of anyone, taxpayer or councillor, to really know what programs cost and whether those numbers are good, bad, or indifferent. The town's budget and operating systems are based on a cash accounting system which is unaudited and antiquated. The cash system does not account for depreciation, and the timing of capital expenditures can severely distort results year over year. An accrual accounting system is only used for developing and publishing the audited annual report as mandated by the provincial government. The maintenance of 2 accounting systems is inefficient and confusing. In the interest of clarity and transparency, we ask this committee consider the adoption of one system, an accrual system where revenues and expenditures, including depreciation and capital, are clearly outlined by department year over year. We believe that on this issue, the town of Oakville should follow the lead of provincial and federal governments, as well as other progressive municipalities. Transparency is the cornerstone of good government, and financial transparency should be one of our highest objectives. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Elgar?
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
With regard to depreciation, which municipalities do depreciation?
I believe, I have not looked at all the municipalities' accounting systems, but if you do look into reports such as the C.D. Howe report and some of the others, they do point out that there are municipalities that are using accrual systems, and I believe Markham is the one that they use as an example.
Okay, I appreciate that, because when I first came on council after working in finance, I couldn't, their systems are totally different in the municipalities, and that's the reason I'm surprised that any municipality was using depreciation.
I couldn't tell you for sure if they are. I'm just going by what I've read. Again, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination an expert on municipal accounting. I just know how frustrating and confusing it is, and I can only imagine what you guys go through, especially maybe when you're new to the committee and you haven't had a number of years to work with the data. There's a lot of things about the system, the budget process, that I think are great. I even have come around to like performance-based budgeting, but you've got to look at what you're setting as objectives. And I did spend a fair bit of time this year reading through some of those, and that is something that does concern me, the measurement process.
Now, since you read this fine little document with 30 tabs, was there any particular tab that jumped off the page at you where you think we should do better? Like, it'd be nice if you could be just a little bit specific of where your concern would be.
I brought a few things with me that I printed off. I don't have benefit of having a whole binder, so I did this all online. Okay, infrastructure maintenance in the performance section, page 122. A lot of, as I was going through this whole section, and I haven't printed, my printer won't allow me, it was dying, to print everything off, but I printed off a few select pages. For example, in the customer benefits and outcomes section, when you're talking about roadside fences and street sweeping, specifically it said annual maintenance programs should be delivered within established budgets, and if they were, although it was stated as met, and if they weren't, whatever. Then when you get to things like loose bulk leaf collection, all of a sudden there's no reference to budgets. It just says, yep, it was done, but was it done within budget? I don't know, it's not in here, and it isn't measured. Same thing with removal of graffiti, and I believe there are budgets for all these things, but I think the question should be done, was it done within budget, should apply to just about every aspect. Another area. Transit services. Oh, there was that. I had a lot of fun in there. The most interesting, if we could talk about this some other time, and I'd be happy to meet with you some other time about it, because I've got a bunch of things that I just noticed. But one of the things that was kind of interesting was that on page 139, the bottom of the page, it's, again, customers' benefits, impacts, and program outcomes. The indicator was municipal contribution per capita, something we're kind of interested in, because that's, it's a cost item. Measures the level of community investment in transit services, and it says per capita, so I assume that means per capita, per population. Capita is what we would normally expect. The target was $69.22 per capita. That's the municipal contribution. That's what the taxpayers are paying for transit services. The achievement was $90.04, which is very definitely a not met. So rather than you achieved 90.4, but next year you're going to target $94. So you've gone from 69.22 per capita, getting 90.4, so missing the target, and raising it to $94. So that one kind of raised a question in my mind. But what was even more interesting was that in 2010, on the same page, and I didn't print it out, so I just scribbled the numbers underneath it. When I went back and looked at it, the target was 50. You made 60.03, which again, and that was stated as exceeding the target, which is kind of an interesting way of interpreting things. And then the target was moved up to 69.22. So that kind of is the sort of thing that I kind of, when I'm looking for financial accountability within the performance system, I kind of wonder. And there's a few others that I've got like that. Those are the two that stuck out. There was one about, there's another, anyway. I only have 10 minutes, and you guys don't need to be listening to this all night, but I have a few other things. If you want to discuss them, I'd be happy to sit down and just kind of, these may all have good answers, I don't know. But in the interest of transparency, and as a taxpayer and president of Resident Association who is concerned about expenses, these things kind of jumped out at me.
Well, the 69.1 is actually the percentage that the town levies, because that's what's not covered on every dollar.
That's right. Oh, I'm well aware of what that is. That's right. That's the amount coming from the taxpayers to subsidize transit, which is a conscious decision by the town to do that, and that's not the issue. But if you're putting down performance targets and they're not being met, you shouldn't be just raising the target. That's my concern.
I'm surprised. I'll have to have a look at that target, because for last year it was like 70.
Last year it was 70. The target was 50. They made $60.3 per capita, and then raised the target to 69.22. Anyway,
we got to be talking something different, because when I go through the numbers, we're 70.4 and we're 69.1 is what. I'll have to have a look at it in more detail, but.
There's a couple of others. I picked sort of ones in different departments that kind of struck me as odd. But anyway, I'm happy to sit down with Mr. Adams or whoever informally and discuss it.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay. And I have a copy of my presentation, Kathy.
Mayor Burton, you had some questions as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Morwitz, for coming. I just wanted to follow up about your remarks about CD Howe. I'll send you a copy of the Government Finance Officers Association rebuttal of the CD Howe study, which, as I said at ASC when your colleague mentioned it, is not worth the paper it's printed on. I will forward you a copy of Markham's budget, and if you can find them using depreciation, I'll be grateful to you for pointing it out to me. I study the other cities' budgets, and I haven't found that. But we welcome your input, and we do continuously seek to do better. I believe that if you look at the budget documents that we provide year over year over year, you'll see a steady improvement, and perhaps with your advice, we'll continue to show some improvement, and you may find more to like next year. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. There was a lot I liked a bit better this year in the way things were presented, certainly. I thought it was a little more upfront than last year. It wasn't leading with, well, let's cut all these programs because that's how we're going to make our objectives. It just generally came off a lot cleaner, I think. But I still think, as I said, there's room for improvement. Thank you.
Any others? Thank you very much. Appreciate your time this evening. Dave Jenner, the Halton Men's Hockey. Welcome. You have up to 10 minutes. And I believe that members of council should have received emails with respect to this item already, I think.
Move ahead. Yep. To move ahead is click. Right.
Just click whichever presentation.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Budget Committee, members of Council, and senior staff, thank you very much for the opportunity to address the Budget Committee tonight. I'll try and move along particularly quickly, as fast as I can. My name is Dave Jenner. I'm the director of the Halton Men's Hockey League.
Mr. Jenner, if there's a presentation here, maybe we can just get it set up properly so that it's properly visible.
I thought I was on the right one. Right. It's not us.
Oh, that's not you.
No.
Yeah,
I have lots to say.
It's the one next door.
Sorry, there we are.
The third one over there, that's what you're looking for. There, that looks more like the topic I think we're on.
Thank you very much. Do I get a timeout on that? Or?
Oh, of course. We'll let you start over here.
Thank you.
There you go.
I'll try to keep predominantly to the issues around fees, as I realize this is a Budget Committee presentation, but related aspects will spring up as they clearly factor into the question. I have to trust that everyone has briefed themselves somewhat on the background as well, and that's why I haven't provided handouts tonight. The Halton Men's Non-Contact Recreational Hockey League has provided over 15,000 Oakville residents with rec hockey for almost 30 years. I'll skim through this very quickly because I think it's pretty much known information. We're a uniquely individual entry league. I think that's significant in that we've been a terrific fit for the Oakville growth market, where many new residents arrive without necessarily having connections to join a team. We operate winter and summer seasons, entirely dependent on town ice for our summer season, and we think we've been an exceptional tenant, having enjoyed excellent relations with the town and staff. Background issues very quickly. In October of 2011, at the time we'd normally be requesting our summer ice, I was given notice of an 82% increase in summer ice rental fees and questioned staff on this. Naturally, I was absolutely alarmed and thought it was at first a misprint. I obtained a staff report dated June 2nd, 2010, studied that pretty carefully, located several inconsistencies and lack of implementation of recommendations in that report, then questioned the recreation staff, and they steered me to a follow-up report dated August 6, 2011. I met with the Director of Recreation and the manager on January 9th. At that meeting, I was asked to submit our concerns in writing and that they be forwarded in turn to a discussion between the Director, the CAO, and the Commissioner of Community Services. I submitted that report 1 week later, January 16th, with copies to the Director and to town councillors, regional councillors as well. I think have received that since that time. 2 weeks later, I received a response. It was apparent to me in that discussion that the discussion held was not truly along the lines of can we review this, but more along the lines of how can we defend this. That letter did suggest that I present to the Budget Committee, and that's why I'm here tonight. I believe our facts presented will stand on their own merit. I'm trusting that a solid presentation will urge this committee to recommend reconsideration. As a summary of our concerns, I'd like to proceed right to the executive summary. The town in June 2010 completed a review of several recreational facilities and the appropriate pricing levels for each. The report was centered on the concept of cost recovery foremost. It's important to know that we have no issues with the need for review.
the establishment of the categories or the concept of surcharges placed on commercial users. However, this presentation will show that the fee increases from summer 2011 to 2012 recommended by staff for the category of ICE user commercial prime time were highly excessive. Fees increased from $207 an hour to $357 an hour, an 82.6% increase. Even now I'm choking on it. That recommendations for fee increases were generally applied in an erratic, inconsistent manner. That fees applied to commercial prime-time renters are discriminatory against a single set of users and appear to be intentionally protective of town programs. That many of the stated guidelines in the methodology of the report were not adhered to or discarded during the process or applied in different weightings when compared to other group categories and other facilities. That recommendations were imposed hurriedly in the case of ICE fees without staff consultation with the organizations most affected by the increase, in direct conflict with a specific directive from Council to do so in the August 2010 report. That fees were unfairly enacted such that the category most affected by the increases was the category seen as least vocal or forecast to be least resistant. It's not surprising that this was the group that received no consultation. We understand the big picture. The concept, especially in this economy, of achieving some measures of cost recovery, we truly do get. It is with the specific outcome that we have issue. The magnitude of the fee increase is so far beyond those applied to other rental group designations and so far removed from similar group designations but in different facilities that any objective observer would see this as singular targeting. There's a lot on this table in front of you, but I'll focus on a few pieces of data to underscore our point. Looking at the third column, and I realize I'm asking you to take a lot in a very short time, but looking at the third column and concentrating on the prime ICE section only, that's the upper part of this table, see that the fee increase for commercial prime ICE renters stands out the 82%. So clearly the commercial category is bearing a huge load. But if that's the case, then I ask you to think about our claim of inconsistencies and our claim of targeting when I bring this to your attention. That the shooter pad increase is only 2.5%. I have to believe that many shooter pad renters are commercial, such as private goaltending instructors. Revenues here alone probably are fairly minimal, but that's not the point. Why has the town applied such a restrictive tariff to the prime-time league operator and not to the prime-time instructor? The columns to the right on this table indicate the difference in price from the previous category. In other words, youth will pay 26% more than core youth. Adults pay 69% more than core youth, 34% more than youth, etc. So I hope you have an understanding of the way the table plays out. Focusing on the commercial prime line, note that our group of users is 111% more than core youth. The simple fact that we're commercial even translates into a 25% surcharge over other adults. Why is it that the town applies such a heavy tariff to this particular type of user? What is their interest? Looking at the middle group of the table, we see the non-prime rates. Keep in mind what appeared at the top of the table to be a foundation logic that commercial groups should bear the load, and in a very demonstrable way. That's what one would surmise. Those increments at the upper third of the table, 26% down to 69%, down to 111% in the top section, essentially the jump between categories, can't be ignored. Please keep those figures in mind. Now look at the middle section, non-prime rates. Those same increments are 37, 42, and 49%. In other words, could the town be saying that since we have an abundance of ice to sell during the daytime in the summer, and possibly since we don't have a league to protect in the daytime, there's a lot of available day summer ice, then we really don't care as to whether the activity is commercial or not. So let's not set a price disincentive. I believe the answer is obvious. There's wildly different outcomes. This is the core of our argument. One particular subset is being targeted. One can dissect the figures in any number of ways, but I have to give a few examples that leave us in wonderment at the logic. Let's look at the non-prime ice rent for a renter with 5 or 6 skaters. They'll pay $132. The same renter of ice that wants to provide professional power skating instruction to 5 or 6 skaters will pay $137, only a 3% surcharge. So we're confused. Is there a significant surcharge for commercial operations or not? And it appears this is not simply a prime versus non-prime issue. Let's look at the bottom section, rentals of arena floors without ice. As a ball hockey league operator, if I'm running a commercial operation, even in prime time, my charges would only be 7% more than a pickup group. What is the inherent difference between ball hockey and ice hockey that would justify this difference? If by policy or design the commercial group is to bear a heavier load and the brunt of the increases, why is the application of this so different in non-prime versus prime? What special interest does the town have in establishing such an inflated rate for ice after 5 p.m. as opposed to earlier hours? Why does the town apply such a modest surcharge for floor rentals in prime time? Why does, to choose just one example, a daytime hockey school operator or power skating clinic pay $14 per hour more than youth, a 9% surcharge, yet a nighttime league operator pays $127 more than youth, 68% more? How does one explain the town's interest, specific interest, in prime time commercial league operations? What is it that has caused the town to be so aggressive in pricing? Only on the ice, only after 5 o'clock, and only towards commercial operators. We can't speak with certainty to the town's intent, but I think most observers would agree that the optics and the results, combined with the first years of the town's attempt to grow their own leagues, gives every indication of protectionism and predatory pricing. And again, it's about the magnitude. The price disincentive applied to our organization is clearly much more than a slight increase in fees. Price increases are not applied in anything resembling a linear manner. Price increases are erratic across user categories and time of use. Among the stated guiding principles of the report were included, departments will offer a wide range of opportunities either directly or through community partnerships and will be sensitive to the needs of the community. Pricing levels?
I'm sorry, Mr. Jenner, you've reached your 10-minute mark. And I recognize that you've got more here, but I don't know how many more slides you have in your deck.
I'm afraid to say I'm only about halfway through.
I wonder if perhaps we could get a copy of the deck provided to us. And in the meantime, I wondered if there are questions from members of the committee who would like to proceed. Mayor Burton and then Councillor DeMoff.
Mr. Jenner, thank you for coming. I don't believe that the Budget Committee is exactly where you want to discuss pricing policies in any event. And so I wonder if you would like to try an alternative, which is I would be willing to offer you a meeting with the Mayor's office at which we could sit down and go through your concerns, and then I could discuss with staff and get back to you. And then I suppose if you're not satisfied with that, you would still have your regular alternatives, including petitioning council further down the road.
Mr. Mayor, when you say petitioning council, do you mean presenting before council? Or?
You could presumably, through a member of council, initiate the council process to try to get council to consider your matter, and you'd have another 10 minutes at that time to look at it from a pricing perspective, or a policy perspective, if I was unable to find a way to satisfy you. In any case, you're out of town. You're out of time now.
Right. No, I realize that. Yes. I have to say I'm a little concerned. I realize that being behind time is only my own fault, but the very fact that I'm here tonight is on the recommendation of the director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture. And so if this isn't the forum for this, it would have been nice to know that in advance.
This is the forum, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did misunderstand.
But we have well-known and established rules about time allocations.
Oh, no, but I'm sorry, your comment was this wasn't the forum.
I'm offering you an opportunity to continue your discussion. Otherwise, you're out of time. So I'm trying to extend a kindness to you. And you can refuse it. in which case, thank you for your information. And based on the incomplete information that I have, I'll undertake discussions about your issue with you and get back to you. Or you can accept my invitation to attend a meeting. It's your choice.
I do accept that invitation, thank you very much, but I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you said earlier on. I thought that you were indicating that this was the wrong place for me to be at this stage. Okay.
For policy, yes. For the revenue question, that is something that the Budget Committee certainly would be able to look at. I think because of the mixture of issues here, you're unlikely to get anything from this Budget Committee. I'm trying to help you.
Yes, I realize that, I appreciate that.
And from your last answer, I think you've left off being hard to help, and I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Great. I'll arrange that then through your office. Thank you.
You do have another question before you run off. Councillor Demoff?
Thank you very much for coming. I have read through everything that you had sent, and I don't think there's anything new that you're presenting in your presentation tonight. First of all, I'd like to apologize that you weren't consulted. I don't think that it's proper that we introduce fees without consultation to the groups affected, so I'd like to apologize to you for that.
Thank you.
Having said that, I know that staff did do a great deal of work on setting the fees, and I do support the direction that they went in. I am curious, what is the increase in fees to the players? Based on these new rates that you will be charged, how much more do you anticipate that each player will be paying?
We haven't set our rates for this summer because we don't know what our costs will be. I'm hesitant to put all of the increase onto them. We won't have a league if that's the case. So I don't have an answer for that.
If you could, based on what they pay now, I'd love to know what the rate is now and what the rate would be if you passed on the entire thing.
If we passed on everything?
Yes.
You
don't have to tell me right now. You can send it to us later.
Yeah, okay.
And the other thing, in a lot of the information that you sent, you were questioning what a commercial group was, and I think that question was answered by the director in terms of the application will be changed to, but you are a for-profit organization, that's correct?
We're a for-profit organization, yes.
So it is different than the Oakville Soccer Club or the other groups that are,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that was all I had. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions, members of the committee or council members here? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think it would be a useful discussion that you could have with the mayor, and he would certainly bring that back to us for consideration.
Thank
you. Sophia Dershko, regarding Oakville Transit and Special Needs Riders. Welcome, and you have up to 10 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Sophia Dershko. I'm 20 years old, and I'm a student of the Futures program in White Oak Secondary School. I am also autistic and may not be able to have a driver's license. I'm here to speak on behalf of all my friends who, like myself, may not be able to drive. At school, I'm in a co-op program, and I've learned to use the transit system. Every day, I use it to go to my co-op, and my classmates use it, as well as many of my friends to go to jobs and other things. Without a dependable transit system, many of us would not be able to have jobs and would have to wait for someone to drive us to the places we need to get to. This is one of the reasons I love living in Oakville. The buses are clean, the drivers are helpful and nice. In June, I will graduate and look forward to finding a job and being as independent as I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
It's not a question, but I just want to thank you because it's not easy to come before this committee, and I just want to thank you very much for coming out.
Any others? Councillor Elgar.
So you're happy with the transit service that you have now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any others? Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Tom Mahoney, Chair of Halton Special Needs Family Network. Mr. Mahoney, I understand that you have several different issues regarding the budget that you wish to speak to the committee about. And I understood that you had wished to return at the next session of our committee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We have a 10-minute limit.
I understand.
And that means that you really can't come back to the same committee and have another go-round. It would be unfair to some others who might wish to have more time as well. And so I wondered, are you able to speak to all your issues today, or would you rather come back and speak on all your issues at once?
I will try and do it tonight. I appreciate very much the opportunity. Given our priorities as a group of representing the special needs community within Oakville, transportation is a huge issue. And if we can, if I can cover that in better detail and trying to jam everything of all the concerns that we may have, or certainly like issues that we would like to be raised or discussed, trying to put it all into 10 minutes, it doesn't quite do it justice. So
okay.
I'd much rather
Mr.
deal
Burton,
with one
did you
specific
have an order of business that you wanted to deal with?
I wanted to ask the chair to assist the delegation by volunteering to him that the committee is happy to receive written material without limit as to length. And so anything that you didn't have time to say, we'd be happy to receive and read carefully. And actually, it would be a favor to us because we work better with words on paper. And when we're listening to people speak, what we have afterwards is limited to the quality of our note taking.
Thank you for that point. That is, of course, always open to all of our delegates.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So you're free to use up to 10 minutes this evening with us. And as the mayor said, we really would be interested in any other information that you might want to share with us.
Well, thank you. There's a lot of initiatives and a lot of new discussion, I think, that we would like to bring to the table, especially dealing with those who are cognitively disabled within Oakville. I think tonight's commentary that I can make within transportation, if I do have a couple of minutes, I can lead into the top lines of those other particular issues. But it's a partnership that we are certainly looking for, and would certainly enjoy entertaining the discussion. Okay.
Then by all means, please proceed. And you have some material that you want to get up there that we got a sneak peek at earlier. And if we can get that onto the full page, that would be great. We have technical assistance coming to.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Well, thank you very much again, Councillor Adams and committee, for entertaining our deposition this evening. My name is Tom Mahoney. I am the chair of the Halton Special Needs Family Network. We are a recent new organization made up of 150 families with living and residing within Halton region. 80, it's more of a 60% actually in Oakville, 30% in Burlington, and approximately 10% in Milton. We were 3 separate organizations and then banded together because we seemed to need to speak as one voice versus having 3 different groups all asking for the same, attention. We are also members of the provincial Ontario Family Alliance organization. Our mission is to enhance and preserve independent growth, ensuring a variety of special need programming and community supports are available for the cognitively disabled within Halton. Advocate for and educate about their unique special needs, communicate and provide information resources to Halton families, as well as to work in partnership with all municipal and provincial community service sectors in providing solutions to their specific special needs. Who are the cognitively disabled? From a terms of reference standpoint, is the autism spectrum. And the autism spectrum certainly has multiple levels and multiple degrees. It goes from those, if I look at the picture at the very top there, the young man on the left is my son Connor, who's also 20 years old. He is a young man who has the cognitive ability of a 2-year-old or communication ability of a 2-year-old and the body of a 20-year-old. He is also graduating high school this year at Holy Trinity High School. So as I'm going on, I find it best to tell a story, and he will be the reference that I will be using during this process. It's not ringing. Pardon me, I don't know, I have to just mouse click? It's not working.
This one right here.
Sorry, thought I was starting to get on a roll there. Okay. It still won't work. Well, I will just read accordingly if you've received the information previously.
Maybe we can get our technical assistants to try and help you with that particular.
We're not qualified in IT, so can I help?
Oh, we have an
It
outside
just
technical
moved, so
assistant.
I think if I just moved the
Okay.
mouse, it seemed to work.
Yeah, or just press enter would shoot.
I did. It didn't work.
Does it work? Did you try? No? You should normally do this. It should work. 1 second. You can try.
You could just use the smaller version and click through that.
Yeah,
and
if you can do that,
that might be that'll be just
you can
fine
just click this.
if you
Okay,
use
thank
that.
you.
Because I think it really would help your material if you were able
Thank
to
you.
speak to it.
Okay, once again, a review the autism spectrum, the Down syndrome community, the seniors community, Alzheimer's, which is a very growing element within the definitions of needs or those who are suffering that particular disorder, brain injury and other cognitive disorders. Our family priorities, as we are a group of families, are the continuation of independent growth and full integration within their community, which means sustainable and lifelong. And we're mostly referencing the post-21 years of age, when individuals are actually aged out of high school. For the previous 14 years of their life, they have been in school, they've been picked up with transportation supported by both school boards, be it Catholic as well as public. They go to school, then they are dropped off at home. When they reach the age of 21, there is no education, there is no programming, and there's no transportation. Our mission in life is to try and provide them that continuation of them continually learning this critical need of independency or life independency to their full capability. Accessibility and affordable transportation is an utmost necessity for this growing population within our community. A safe and healthy life experience, and certainly confidence in that transition process. From a family standpoint, one of the greatest difficulties that we do have is that belief of what happens in that age of transition from 20 to 21. Without taking you through the process of the new government regulations or process, it now initiates at 18 versus that 20 to 21 aging out of high school. The cognitive disabled community cannot drive a car. They may or may not need a support for guidance. They live a life defined by a schedule. They must rely on public transportation or other support resource for movement within their community. Oakville Transit. Well, with Oakville Transit, if you are visually impaired with an attendant, you receive free transit services. Of course, I'm referring to that attendant as being four-legged. But it acts in the same device as a lot of our special needs individuals who need an attendant and a servicing attendant to move them from point A to point B, or to help them move from point A to point B. The physically disabled receive to and from home services through the Caravan program. The cognitively disabled pay a full adult fare, as well as their attendant must pay a full adult fare with no access to Caravan. In other words, the cognitively disabled actually have to pay two fares to move from point A to point B. In Oakville Transit, a cognitive disabled individual receiving ODSP, which is Ontario Disability Support Services, receive a $10,000 a year benefit. Okay, the adult pass, the annual cost is $1,128 per year. That represents 10% of their annual income. And if an attendant is needed, this represents over 20% of their annual income. The employees of Oakville Transit, this has been a major issue that has come forward in past years, and other municipalities have been recording these incidences, that the drivers or the employees have absolutely no way of knowing who is cognitively disabled. That these individuals, if you see the picture of my son, they look absolutely normal, but they have the ability to communicate of a 1 or 2-year-old. And yet they're riding on the transit. If there is an altercation, we've had police called in, no one can communicate with the individual, and which actually ended up with a death that happened within the Hamilton transit system. This has resulted in heated exchanges between drivers and the special needs, resulting in police interaction. Employee education is a must, as well as we need to identify who has special needs riding within our transit system. From moving forward, from a recommendation standpoint, we have noticed within the planning cycle that there is a movement for the seniors plan of scheduled free days and items complementing the seniors transit fare schedule. This is an exceptionally good idea. It is being utilized in Ottawa and to great success. We are requesting that we initiate a special category of fares for those who are receiving ODSP and execute through the new Presto system. This new Presto system, I believe, is a wonderful opportunity of inclusion of solutions to this particular problem that our community has. With the idea of identification using the Presto card, we can come up with a special color-coded card, be it bright orange, that the individual must present to the driver. Upon that time, the driver then realizes this is a special need or a cognitively disabled individual. And then once again, to allow for free access for any attendant accompanying the special needs passenger in possession of the special Presto Pass. In Ottawa, they do this. What they do is they put the picture of the special needs individual on the card. Whoever is in attendance or traveling with that individual is allowed to travel for free. We are requesting that a cognitively disabled category for caravan service be included. The reason for this is there are individuals who cannot, because of the spectrum of disorder, it goes for those who have a one-to-one need, or who cannot be, how should I say, educated properly to sit on a public transit system situation, to those who can travel almost by themselves. Even though they can't communicate, we have taught them to get on the bus and to get off at a location, and then to get off at a location, as long as someone's there to put them on the bus and someone's there to greet them at the end of the route. Okay? The other component to that would be someone in need of work or moving from work, that they can't travel alone, or they don't have the capability or have the advantage of having a one-to-one attendant. They can still, because of their education with the school system, get on that, the caravan or at home on the bus, and that it can deliver them to their location where they have to be. We are requesting and initiate a mandatory education process for all transit employees about the cognitively disabled, and ensure a proper protocol is in place. And we are asking for you to help us champion these solutions within Halton Region, so that a ubiquitous transportation plan is in place for the cognitively disabled. I think we all recognize the reality of having a successful transportation network, a public transportation network, is its ability to network with all the other communities and municipalities that make up Halton Region. That we have individuals, we are looking to find employment for them. That employment may be up in Milton. How do they get from A to B? Or how do they get to somewhere in Burlington? For those who are further programming within community living, we have 3 community living outlets: Burlington, Oakville, and North Halton. And I believe that is the end of my time. I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Now, you have a slide deck there, and I'll ask our staff to make sure that we all have a copy of that. And I know you've got a host of questions from my colleagues, and I'll let them at you here. Councillor Johnson, I think you were the first that I saw.
Yeah, you've answered my... All the information that we need is on your slide deck, or do you have more as well?
That is all, pertaining to transportation is all in this particular slide deck.
Okay. And anything else would be welcome too. Have you talked to the Burlington and Milton councils?
They are entertaining the process. The last conversation I had with Burlington was, what is the issue? How do we acknowledge, or how do we define who is cognitively disabled? The identification process. And in other words, if we have a special fee strategy or in place, how do we acknowledge or define this is the individual that application, should be made or endorsed? I believe that with the Presto system actually is a huge opportunity. One is exceptionally efficient. The user, fees from getting the initial card makes sense. And because it's plastic, you can be creative with, the individual dynamics of each card itself. So we are a group that believes in trying to find solutions versus just presenting issues and problems.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a bigger issue than just budget, though. Somehow we'll have to have discussions with staff.
Councillor DeMoff?
Question for actually Director of Transit. Would any of these individuals qualify under the split program? If they're receiving ODSP, does that qualify to get the reduced fare passes?
Through you, Mr. Chair, ODSP recipients do not currently qualify for the region's split program. It's strictly based on low income, and the threshold is as defined by Canada Revenue Agency, low income cutoff.
And I'm assuming that you have spoken to Mr. Cole.
I have not spoken directly to Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, when concerns have been raised, Mr. Cole certainly has, answered those particular questions directly back, as from previous meetings that we've had. I recognize the difficulty Mr. Cole has. Mr. Cole expressed also that there are limitations within transit. How can we, not speaking for Mr. Cole, certainly he can address it, but I understand the difficulty. And I'm trying to find a solution that will satisfy the requirements we have as a community, but as well as the handcuffing that Mr. Cole has been under.
I'd encourage you to sit down with them and have a discussion about how we can go forward with this. And some of your ideas, I mean, we don't know what kind of costs would be involved with them. In terms of providing caravan and that type of thing. Providing the photograph for someone traveling with someone seems very reasonable, but again, I don't know what the implications are financially, and as you know, Oakville Transit is strapped right now.
I recognize the economics. I also believe this is a political decision, recognizing individuals who have no choice. If, by the decision that you make in this regard, you understand that looking at the next 5 years of these individuals, you're handcuffing them. They can't get out. The families themselves, I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to cost more to the municipality and to the city. There's going to be a day that these individuals will be handed over to community living. And what we're trying to do is educate and increase their levels of independent living. So as I understand the natures of the cost of implementing these programs, there are municipalities that have included or implemented these programs. Ottawa has implemented these programs, and they recognize the need for these individuals. So I'm a fiscal conservative. I actually believe that this is a political decision as much, that we must entertain and embrace these individuals within our community. Any action, I always believe, is just it's as even up to date. We've kind of turned a blind eye to the cognitively disabled.
Don't take what I was saying the wrong way, because I don't disagree with you. It's in terms of what we're doing here as a budget committee, we're dealing with the numbers. So the political decision is something different than what we would be doing here, because we don't have any idea what kind of costs we're looking at. I totally agree with what you're saying, and I recognize, in fact, we've actually spoken about this for individuals who have cognitive disabilities and can't get around town. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mayor Burton, in our quick conversation, you had some interesting comments that you wish to offer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mahoney, thank you for taking advantage of the budget opportunity to come here. I think that might be one of the most direct ways you can bring your matter before us. In Ottawa, municipal services are in one building, so to speak. I'm simplifying. Here in Halton, we divide them between the town of Oakville and the region of Halton. I serve on both. I have similar issues in members of my family. I have many friends who also have been touched by this. I have colleagues on council similarly here. It appears to me you need a champion. I will try to be that champion for you. And I'd like you to bring your material, I got your email. My office will contact you to try to set up a meeting. The remark you made where you wanted us to coordinate something region-wide is really sort of the launching pad for what I'm saying, which is it's at that level that we deal with all of these things, and I will assist you, and we will get you as far as we can at that proper level. And thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Any others? Okay, I think you're in the best hands you can be in. I'm sorry. Councillor Giddings, I'm looking off the left, and I need to look onto the right here, too.
No worries. Just quick comment. If Director Cole could just mention, because this came up at Green Trans at a meeting last week, and I've been going back and forth with Director Cole, and I think he has some encouraging news about AODA deadlines and how he's going to be ahead of them by about 18 months in terms of the attendant.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. One of the things that Oakville Transit has been looking at is how we can address the OADA requirements that are coming at us effective January 13th, again January 14th, and so on. And one of them speaks to charges for attendance or support persons traveling with someone with a disability. So Oakville has been looking at this and is in the throes of developing a program that provides for free attendant travel on Oakville Transit. The plan is to first implement this with our caravan and then to move it to our conventional accessible service. Both will require some sort of identification so that the drivers know, but we are trying to keep the identification, means of identification, as discreet as possible, as opposed to, as you mentioned, the color coding of the cards we think is too obvious for and may draw unwanted attention to the specific customers. So we are developing a program, and we should have it in by the summer. There's a minimum cost to this. It's very little cost. Transit should have no problem handling this within its existing budget. And we should be about 18 months ahead of the AODA requirement.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Cole, thank you. I did see some of that information. I can only request or offer our participation in that process, which with open arms and hands, we would love to participate. There is other rationale that maybe some points that we can make you aware of why it's not a bad idea to have them recognized in emergency services because of the problems that people have had not recognizing it. And the only other comment I could make is if we could have an education process or a mandatory information sharing with all of your operators on the basis of how, don't be scared of these individuals who cannot communicate with you properly. I only say that because of the frequency of altercation that has been happening within, not just, with locally, but within the, urban centers at large.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that covers all of the questions we had for you. We
Thank you very much.
appreciate your time this evening, and we look forward to further information being shared back and forth.
Thank you.
Kathy Ryan, regarding transit issues. Welcome, and you have up to 10 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Budget Committee and council members, my name is Kathy Ryan, and I'm here because I'm a regular user of Oakville Transit. I've actually been using it for ever since I moved to Oakville, so that's 19 years. Every working day I use it. And I've been very pleased in the last few years that you've been improving the transit, that we've had additional routes. That is excellent. So I was very disappointed to find that we were thinking about taking away some of the times on the route number 25, which is the one that I have been taking. Now I realise that that route isn't as well used as it should be, and I would, rather than cut out times on that route, I would really like to have it better advertised. I mean, I'm not too sure that a lot of people along our route are aware of its existence. I know the Mayor is aware of the existence because I have seen you on the bus, but I would like to maybe help Oakville Transit popularise that route because it really is an excellent way. For me personally, it means that we've just been able to have one car. We didn't need two cars because I've been able to take transit. I have a few comments about Oakville Transit. I would agree with the previous comments that on the whole, the bus drivers are really friendly. It's a pleasure to ride on the bus. Some of them you actually strike up long conversations with, which makes a really good start to the day. The morning service is really good. I mean, it's very rarely late. It's usually on time. We nearly always meet the trains. There's some things that could be done in the evening to improve the service. It's, in theory, the buses are supposed to meet up with a train. That doesn't always happen. And I know the times have been adjusted, but I think more attention could be given to that. I don't know if the bus drivers realise that it's really hard to get from off the train to the bus since they've redone Clarkson Station. It's one kind of exit to get from at the end to get to the buses. If you come off a crowded train, it's almost impossible to get from train to bus in less than like 5 minutes. And I know particularly one of the routes, one of the times, there's a lady who's has a stick, can't walk very fast, and I know on times the bus has gone without her. I know I've been on another bus, actually it must have been the next bus, and they've had to stop and set the other bus after another bus route has taken her, and so we've had to wait like 5 minutes while she can get on the bus that she should have been on. I think when drivers realise that that's happening, I think they then make an effort to make sure that they do wait for her, but I know the timetables of the bus drivers alter every few months, so then it's a new driver, and I guess they have to realise that they need to make this. So I think that always needs to be looked at to make sure that we don't leave people behind, because that's very frustrating. My only other comment on it is that the first 2 times that we have for that bus route, I mean, if we have to cut anything out, I mean, you could, on going home, you could combine the first 2 because they're close in time. Frequently, that first bus is late. So quite often what happens is that people for the next bus all get on the first bus, so the next bus, when it turns up, there's nobody left for it. But I mean, I would sooner see that we don't cut any times and that we encourage more people to take that bus and keep cars off the road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Burton.
Thank you for coming and talking about my favorite bus route. You might not have been here when I detailed how much trouble I got in with my wife and son, who ride it more than I do, when I suggested that perhaps it was a little bit underutilized. Which runs do you use?
I'm usually on the first one in the morning and the second one in the evening.
Okay.
Occasionally I'm on the third one in the evening if I miss the train I usually try and catch.
So you're on the first of each set, basically.
Well, the first in the morning and the second in the evening.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Okay.
Any others? Thank you very much for your information. We appreciate your time. Joanna Ringrose from Green Trends. And you have up to 10 minutes, and you look like you're very high.
Doubly armed here. I think Kathy should get an award for being on that first bus. Don't you think so, Your Worship? I'd also really like to commend Sophia, who I think has gone, but really proud of the presentation that she made. Mr. Chair and fellow and councillors and your worship, thank you very much, and all of staff who's here. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. As many of you know, Green Trans is a small grassroots group that really promotes transportation that's environmentally, economically, and as you heard this evening, it's really important that it's socially sustainable. It's a big part of what transit, I think, should be about. Oakville's vision, I believe, is to be the most livable town in Canada. And I think the question is, how do we get there? I was really pleased to see the big banner outside that said, commute smart, do your part, walk, bike, take transit, and carpool. So I really was pleased to see that. So how can we get to being this most livable town? I think a big part of it is if we would be by getting transit to where it needs to be. I'm just going to touch really briefly on three things. Three questions. Number one, where does Oakville Transit need to be? Number two, why does it need to get there? And number three, how do we get it there? Okay, where does Oakville Transit need to be? How many of you were able to take a bus here this evening? I think that makes two of us. Two of us were able to get here. Was it easy? It was a little stressful for me. I did it last week. I did a dry run or a practice run last week. Instead of being a 10-minute drive from my home, it's a 60-minute, it's a 1-hour endeavor. I had to change my schedule a bit and do some juggling to make it happen. So again, an hour versus 10 minutes, not as viable as we'd like. Why does Oakville Transit need to be a viable alternative? There's some really important issues, and underlying all of this is thinking of transit as an investment rather than a subsidy. What are some reasons to improve transit? A big one is to reduce risk. As many of you may know, automobile accidents are a leading cause of death for children, teenagers, and young adults, and I just read an amazing statistic today. Car accidents kill more teens than cancer, homicide, and suicide combined. That boggles my mind. I don't know about you. But if you're afraid to put your child on transit, you should be a lot more afraid about getting them into a car. Especially today with texting, talking, and tweeting. Do you feel very safe in your car? with what's going on in that regard. Another reason why transit needs to be viable is to reduce pollution and healthcare costs. We heard a presentation tonight about saving taxes. Well, big taxes could be saved. When there was a talk of building a power plant here in Oakville, people really became aware about the fact that this is an overtaxed airshed. And yet what they didn't realize was that the major cause of air pollution in this area is road traffic. Road traffic is the major cause. In fact, the Oakville Beaver just this past year mentioned that Halton's biggest polluter is road traffic. Another reason to make transit viable is to reduce unemployment. Spending stimulus money on public transportation creates twice as many job months as highway construction or car manufacturing, which is very automated, or building high-rise car parking lots, which I know this council isn't doing, but I think we're all seeing it across the road. We're getting a nice high-rise parking lot, which seems to be counter to promoting transit. It seems to be sending the wrong message. I don't know how the bus drivers feel about I don't know how they're going to get in to the GO train when how many more cars are being expected to go into the Oakville parking high-rise? 1,000, 1,300? Does anyone know how those cars are going to get in there? Are they going to be brought in by helicopter? How many more times are they going to widen Trafalgar to get cars into that parking lot? Another reason is to reduce stress. Riding transit can mean reading the newspaper. It can mean being a senior who's lost your license, and now you can still get around. With the aging demographic that we're all going to be seeing happening, transit's going to become increasingly important, not only to cognitively impaired young people, but older people as well. And finally, to reduce inequity. Public transit is often referred to as being subsidized, and yet, by the way, I did get permission to use this cartoon. Andy Singer is still going strong, and I think this was done in 1974, and guess what? The message is still true. So what are some of these subsidies? What are some of the hidden subsidies of car drivers as opposed to transit users? A big one, of course, is air pollution. People don't pay for the air pollution that they create. People who breathe the air do pay it. The accident costs are not paid by the driver to a large extent. There's policing costs. You don't need a lot of police to police a bus. There's policing costs, fire truck, medical costs. For every little accident, there could be the police, fire truck, ambulance could be called. Another big thing in the GTA is congestion. A recent economic review by the OECD concluded that traffic congestion in the Greater Toronto Area was costing the economy $3.3 billion per year. Is that a cost or no? Parking is very heavily subsidized. I'm guessing parking out here is still free. Does anyone know if parking at the GO train in the new parking high-rise, is that going to be free? Does anyone know? I'm seeing a yes. Is that, how much money could this town be collecting if instead of a parking garage, there was a nice condominium, townhouses, whatever, something going up there? That's a lot of lost revenue. And I wish the ratepayers groups would come and talk about that. I know that it wasn't necessarily a decision that council made, but it's a decision we have to live with. So generally, car dependence results in urban sprawl as well. Destruction of natural habitat. Just ask the coyotes in our backyard about that. So how do we get there? How can we make transit viable? Anyone here seen car commercials on television or magazines? Anyone ever see those? Are they there because they work? Does advertising pay? I think it must, because there's a lot of advertising for cars. We're bombarded with it. And yet, how much advertising do we see for transit? Little or nothing. At least we've had an improvement now. You don't see negative advertising. It used to simply be an ad in the paper saying no transit service on holidays or Sundays. That was the limit of the advertising. I think what needs to be done, yes, there are some empty buses on some parts of some streets, but what needs to be done is an active campaign to make transit cool. To tell people, look, teenagers especially, you can text, you can talk, you can tweet, and you can drive, you can ride safely without having to risk yourself and other people. In summary, Oakville's plan to be the most livable town in Canada can benefit immensely by making improvements in transit to decrease greenhouse gas emissions, improve air quality, improve productivity, meaning less gridlock, lower healthcare costs, and make it a more livable community. Bottom line is, think about transit as an investment rather than as being subsidized, and let's work together to make this the most livable town in Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Elgar has a question for you.
Joanna, thanks for coming tonight. This is a hard nut to crack, though, you got to admit, because I got to tell you, a lot of people up in Ward 4, they're all complaining that they want to see the buses, they're empty, there's nobody in them, why are we spending any money on them? So, help me here.
Yeah, I've given you 2 suggestions, so please take them seriously. One of them is that you need to advertise, you need to make it cool. Car companies don't advertise because they want to waste their money. It works. And yes, you'll have to start slow. Advertising is expensive, But make it cool. Remember when smoking cigarettes in a chamber like this would have been just fine? Just would have been no problem. You go into a theater, you go anywhere, smoking is just fine. Today it's not cool. Not only isn't it cool, it's illegal. And yet people can go out and they can drive their car as much as they want. And you have to, number one, advertise to make it seem cool, to make it become cool. And number two, it has to be viable. Well, I came on an empty bus, part of the route, but I was told that 25 people got off just before me. So if you're getting calls from irate people who are seeing empty buses, I'm pleased that some councillors are saying, well, maybe you should get on the bus and it won't be empty. But I think hourly service, it's chicken and egg. Hourly service is very tough to be viable. Instead of 10-minute ride, it's an hour ride. So somehow you are leaders of the community, and you can make a difference. And yes, it's going to it takes nerves of steel to tell these people to get on the bus, but an aging population, special needs population, et cetera, is really important to keep in mind too.
Well, I hear you, but it's not small money now that we are spending. It's like $25 million for 2012, and even with that, what you could drive here in 10 minutes is taking an hour.
Again, because it's hourly service. Again, you're ignoring all of the hidden costs. You're ignoring all of the hidden costs of the alternative. The alternative costs are very great as well. And it just so happens that, I don't know, what's the largest expenditure for municipal council?
Well,
transit, I think, is 2.
Emergency, fire.
Fire, right. And so I don't know what percentage of that is going out to car accidents. I don't know. I don't think that police and fire trucks keep track of that. It would be interesting to know that. Anyway.
I hear you, but there's no question. Like with fire, it's taxpayers pay for it.
I think you're going to see a shift. I think my generation and your generation, we're not buying hybrids. We're not buying green cars. The Y generation that's coming up, 1% of the people today are buying hybrids and green cars. You ask a Generation Y what they're going to be driving, they're going to be talking about transit, and they're going to be talking about buying electric, etc. There's going to be a tipping point, and I'm asking you to help to bring about that tipping point where it can work.
Okay, so we're spending $25 million now. How much do you want us to spend?
Get on the bus and it'll be free. Make it free. Stop widening Trafalgar. Stop widening roads. Stop widening and improving Ford Drive. You don't need to widen roads, and you don't need to keep building sprawl. If you have transit that works. Stop building parking garages. I'm not saying you're building them, but somebody is. We're paying for it. We're paying for that parking garage. And when people could be getting on the bus to get to the GO train. The mayor's tried it. Give it a try.
I hear what you're saying, but right now we are trying to build infrastructure first before the people come in, like regionally on the regional roads.
Good point, and I'd like to see the bus route there before you even build the house. Before the houses are built, it would be nice to see that the routes are there. So when people move in, they know there's going to be transit.
Well, I hear where you're going, but I tell you, this is the tough one, because the other side of it happened with Upper Middle Road, where the council of the day took pity on the poor developers so they wouldn't have to build the road, so they built all the houses. People couldn't move hardly at all along Upper Middle at the west end towards Bronte. So who ends up footing the bill? The regular taxpayers then have to kick in because it didn't get built with development charges because it wasn't part of growth. So I
don't get the connection with
the
putting in
connection
transit.
is the people still are in their cars and they needed roads to commute. And they're not taking the bus.
Take a baby step. Take a baby step and start allocate a little bit of money to advertising. Tell people that think green, think transit. Take some baby steps.
We did that with the grid system that
we've
introduced.
I do appreciate that. It's been a big improvement. Also, you have a wonderful facility. Anyone who hasn't seen the facility, the transit facility, really needs to see it, because the foundation's been set. Thank you all very much.
Mayor Burton?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Ringrose, not yet. Thank you for coming. I appreciate the leadership that you show in transit and that Green Trans does as well. I mean, our motto at YTV was promote, promote, promote. And so it's very appropriate, if somewhat ironic, that you come and in effect throw my former advice back at me and say we should promote transit more, and point taken, I wanted to say. On the question of fire, it's very important that everyone understand that we staff fire to provide fire protection coverage and fire suppression coverage, and we don't have fires every minute of every day. If we didn't answer emergency calls, we would still need our fire department as it is. We do not staff up in any way to answer those calls. So we would only lose revenue. We charge people when we go out on the QEW to answer those calls. There's no cutting fire and maintaining fire safety. So I was worried that your offhand remark might have led someone to think that there's some savings to be had by shifting money from fire to transit. This council is devoted to both fire safety and fire protection and to increase transit, as you acknowledged, and I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And you have one more, Councilor Moff. You're a very exciting delegation.
Oh, I can see that.
Thank you very much for coming. I actually, I'm not quite sure why we pick on transit for being subsidized and we don't pick on other. You're going to find empty roads in Oakville at time of day, and yet no one ever calls. I actually don't get calls from anyone complaining about empty buses. One gentleman has, but you're always going to find empty buses and you'll find empty roads. So I actually one of the things I had thought about, and you had brought it up tonight as well, I'd like to challenge my other councillors to get on the bus for a week or even a day, and pick a day and we'll all take the bus and try and get here in an hour and see what kind of challenges that people in Oakville face trying to take Oakville Transit. I think it's a little hard to make decisions when many people have never set foot on a bus. So anyway, I'll put that out there to my colleagues, and I'm sorry, I didn't have a question. I was a bit of a rant. I apologize.
Thank you for your example. We also have unused fire trucks, but we're quite happy. We're quite happy when our fire trucks are unused. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Lynn, is it McCrail? McCrail.
Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to speak tonight. I think this discussion on transit comes down to what kind of town we want Oakville to be. From a dollars and cents point of view, it comes down to property taxes and what services we decide to provide from that revenue. I've always understood that a diverse tax base was important to a community. And I remember reading that Oakville is overly dependent on residential property taxes. But we can't attract business and especially manufacturing jobs unless we have a viable transit system that meets the needs of workers. If you work shift work in Oakville, you cannot rely on transit. A day shift starts early enough in the morning to make it impossible to get to the job by bus. When an afternoon shift ends, it's too late in the evening. How many people do you think have to turn down a job because they can't get to work by bus? I took a few minutes this morning to call an employment agency to ask about their experience with this, and they confirmed that yes, it is a significant problem. They said that there are many people who want to work, but because they rely on transit, have to turn down jobs because the buses don't run when and where they're needed. A viable this microphone is going in and out. A viable public transit system is a big plus in attracting business and consequently in providing jobs within the community. Unfortunately, as things stand, it's possible that Hamilton and Mississauga have more to offer to workers and business. I cannot understand the decision to cut out Zone Express, which operated during late hours. This service seems like an efficient use of resources that should have been expanded rather than cut. It has the potential to reduce or eliminate any problem we have with underused buses. Personally, I've seen the problem caused by inadequate transit services in my own family. I recall one summer while both my kids were still in school, when my son worked a morning shift and my daughter an afternoon shift at a manufacturing plant. Neither could rely on the bus service, and we had one car between the three of us, so there was a lot of juggling going on. Years later, my son had 2 different jobs at high school that involved shift work. I'd like to see any one of you out there commuting by bicycle at midnight in the winter. Well, it ceased to be a problem when he moved to Etobicoke and then to Hamilton, where the transit systems are more extensive. And recently, I was shocked to find out that there is no connection between the transit systems of Oakville and Milton. The people who use transit can be broken down to 2 groups: those who own a car and who can make a choice, and those who have no choice. I think it's admirable to try and reduce our dependence on cars, but I would like us to focus more on those people who don't have choices. This includes shift workers, the elderly, the poor, the young, and the disabled. They're the more vulnerable in our community, and I can tell you that we are definitely not meeting their needs. I understand that councillors have received calls from people complaining about the level of subsidized transit and empty buses. I find this attitude shameful and short-sighted. I would like Oakville Transit to return to providing a zone express service during early morning and late night hours, and possibly during the day in routes and schedules where there is low rider usage. Monitoring the demand for zone express would be the best indicator of where to provide regular bus services in the future. When the demand is there, we should meet it. We also need to communicate with business to meet needs. A viable transit system makes Oakville more attractive to business, which in turn would provide a more diverse tax base and local jobs, reduce our dependence on cars, protect our more vulnerable population, and enrich our community. I, for one, am willing to pay that, and I am a car owner who works from home. I don't need the transit system. I'm speaking for those who do. I took the time to come out tonight because I feel strongly that we need to support public transit in Oakville. That's the kind of town I want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Mayor Burton.
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to express my gratitude to you for coming out. We don't often hear from the non-transit user who supports transit, and it's a treat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stuart Goff, President of the Oakville Horticultural Society. And I might proceed your remarks very briefly with a note that we have received a host of notes from both your members and some other organizations who are involved in the greenhouse. And I know that other members of the committee have also expressed a desire to maintain the greenhouse in an open state. If you care to rest a little bit easier.
Yeah.
What we were looking at was the cost of the planting materials primarily. So there you go. And
okay.
We look forward to any information you have.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to address this. Speaking as a resident of the town of Oakville and as a member of the Oakville Horticultural Society, where I'm currently the president, of course, I'd be against this proposal to close the greenhouse. When I was going through the pre-budget consultation presentation to the Budget Committee, among the key findings was that the town programs and services were listed as important and valued by the community. Identified amongst the important issues were concerns for the environment. Residents expressed desire for new and improved programs, for the example, spending priorities relating to the natural environment, parks, trails, green spaces, and gardens. Also identified was a desire by residents for controlling growth and protecting neighborhoods. As identified by the town, the municipal greenhouse is an important element of the town infrastructure. The horticultural greenhouse services are listed as an enhanced service to the residents of Oakville. And at the Budget Committee meeting on January the 19th, Councillor DeMoff said that the greenhouse is a great facility that unfortunately no one seems to know about. If I'll just go off script here for a little bit. Tonight driving over here, it just sort of struck me. The new entrance to the greenhouse is now hidden, shall we say, by the signage for the EMS services. And people driving by would kind of miss the fact that that's also the way to get back into the greenhouse. And on a second point, the town's website, whatever happened to color on the new website? The greenhouse, it's plants, and it's just gray on the website. So getting back to script. So it came as a rude surprise that the Budget Committee Direction 1F called for the closing of the greenhouse. Could there be a savings in the purchasing of plants from an outside source? Possibly. But how good would these plants be? What would their survival rate be? Where would they be kept? From my experience with the Oakville Hort Society, plants grown in the local Oakville conditions do well in Oakville. The staff at the greenhouse know our growing conditions and how to create the proper mix for street displays by the lake or in the Midtown core. That expertise cannot be brought from the outside sources. As to future cost avoidance and potential maintenance, it was quoted at $1.23 million, but a quick look at the 2012-2021 capital forecast shows greenhouse rehabilitation is projected to cost $355,000. As to potential revenues from the sale of the property, and I may be overstepping here a bit, but since when is it town policy to carve up designated parkland to sell it off these new lots? The greenhouse is located in the Cornwall Road buffer. Now, our house currently backs onto what has become the Cornwall Road commercial strip. During information meetings concerning the development of this with the town, we were told that the parkland that is now the Cornwall Road buffer would be zoned for use by the town for parks and open space purposes, not for commercial. I imagine the residents that back onto this land would be most upset to find a commercial development was about to take place in what they had been told was a park. And what would this say to other residents whose concern for controlling the growth and protecting their neighborhood when parkland could be converted into a saleable asset by an order on council? The greenhouse and the attached conservatory are a true gem for our town. I try to visit at least once every 2 weeks. Enter the conservatory on a dreary day and be greeted by the ever-changing display of blossoms. The splashing of the waterfall calls you to follow along the path. And everywhere is that wonderful scent of growing. On a February day, the sight of the first spring bulbs is a joy and reminds us of the growing season to come. And today, when you walked in, the hyacinths just at the door, magnificent. And the conservatory is just the public face of the operation. As one of many volunteers, I've had the pleasure of spending time in the greenhouse where the magic happens. As the report notes, the greenhouse grows 120,000 floral plants per year, plus it overwinters a large number of plants that could not survive our winters, all with a staff of 2. As the president of the Oakville Horticultural Society, I'm proud of our association with the Oakville Municipal Greenhouse. It is here that we conduct our junior teaching garden. The program starts in the early spring and continues until late fall. Each family, a parent accompanies each child, has a small garden plot. We meet once a week in the garden to plant, weed, water, and learn all about the natural world. This teaching garden is truly a magical space. Very few activities have the nurturing and healing qualities of the way that gardening does. Our informal teaching garden engages active minds. Our seasonal food production improves well-being, fosters healthy eating habits, and creates an awareness of how food is produced and why it matters. Children feel valued in the garden because they are helping and giving something of themselves. Each season, some of our produce is given to the local food bank. Our gardens offer children roles of responsibility, teaching meaningful work where they cooperate on real tasks with tangible and tasty results. In the garden, life lessons about self-reliance and self-sufficiency happen naturally. This quiet, sunny space allows for discovery and learning. And if I may be allowed to brag, the OHS Junior Teaching Garden is an award-winning horticultural program for children, as recognized by the province of Ontario. And if we are allowed to continue with the program, enrollment opportunities for the coming season are still available. Just check our website at www.oakvillehort.org for details. Shameless. Our society has also invested in the greenhouse operations and not just with volunteer hours. Last year we partnered with the greenhouse to install a water conservation system that should be operational for this coming gardening season. And you will find a commemorative marker at the entrance to the conservatory where the town has recognized our society's financial contributions to the Oakville Municipal Greenhouse. Our fellows at the Bondi Horticultural Society also volunteer with the greenhouse. The BHS plants and maintains the grounds at the Sovereign House with plants supplied from the greenhouse. And it's not just horticulture groups that benefit from having the greenhouse. The greenhouse is used as a major resource for Halton students to gain invaluable experience and hours in their goal to complete horticulture and landscaping diplomas and degrees. This resource is not replaceable by anything else in Oakville. The greenhouse is also used by mentally challenged adults in a way that is highly commendable and well worthwhile. School groups use the greenhouse, and a lot of this is in the appendices that you've received. Simply put, the greenhouse and conservatory are an integral part of making Oakville the most livable town in Canada. Closing the greenhouse and its operations would forever remove one of the jewels that sets our town apart from others. I urge you to turn down this proposal to close the greenhouse and conservatory, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak.
You have two questions. Councillor Johnson?
It's not so much a question, but thank you for coming out. And as a councillor whose daughter was married in the greenhouse, I think you'll know where I'll be going. And just to let you know, we do have 2 tours arranged already from Ennisclare. We've got a lot of people interested in learning more about the greenhouse.
Good.
So I'll be voting to keep it.
It just needs more.
Very good. Councillor DeMoff?
I think you'll find there's a fair amount of support for the greenhouse. And my question is actually for staff, because I did say it's a wonderful jewel that no one knows about, and I think one thing that we could do is change the sign on Cornwall Road that says open to the public. You drive by there and most people would have no idea that they could even go in there. So if we could change the sign that says open to the public and put the hours on there, then I think there's a lot of people, and in a lot of ways, sometimes when something bad happens, good results, and perhaps the greenhouse being brought to people's attention. And the other thing is to put a donation box at the exit, so that if the people would like to contribute to that wonderful gem that we have, they're able to. So, but changing the sign would be something I would really like if you could take a look at. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Burton?
Well, given all the increase in promotional activity by members of council, the greenhouse is bound to benefit from all of the attention that it attracted. And thank you very much for coming.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate your time this evening. Lisa Saylor?
Oh, okay. Thank you. It's not. Okay. Oh, the clock is already running. Hi, thanks for allowing me to speak tonight. I didn't pre-register, so I wasn't sure if I was going to have time to put this together. It's a presentation that I saw the other day at a conference, and as I was watching it, I was thinking about the Oakville budget, and so I thought you might benefit from it as well. I got permission to use it and extracted about half the slides. There are about 25, so I'm flying through in this version. I'm not speaking on behalf of Green Trans or anything, it's just as a private citizen. Blue Green Canada is a joint project between the United Steelworkers Union and Environmental Defence. So as you can understand, they're 2 big organizations, so there's hopefully some validity behind these slides. It's about the green economy. So there's some quotes in here. Green economy, improved human well-being and social equity while significantly reducing environmental risks and ecological scarcities. So you've heard about some social equity tonight. Green economy is low carbon, resource efficient, and socially inclusive. The greening of economies is generally not a drag on growth, but rather a new engine of growth, a net generator of decent jobs. And this addresses what Joanna Ringrose was talking about. Transit, if you have a decent transit system, you're actually going to improve the economy. The green economy is driven by risk and opportunity. Climate change is happening now. So some quotes, 2011 will be one of the warmest years on record, and we know that it was, and it continues to carry into 2012. The warmest 13 years have all occurred in the 15 years since 1997. There's some climate change slides here. Ontario polar bears are doomed. 2011 was a costly, catastrophic year with a $12 billion record, $12 billion weather and climate disasters, breaking the record of 9 from a few years previous. There's some slides on the acidic ocean that's caused by what's in our atmosphere. And somebody's talking. We cannot afford to delay further action to tackle climate change. Delaying action is a false economy. I'm not asking you for anything specific in the budget. Oh, maybe I will. But it's general. These are some general comments on why you should be considering climate, the environment. I'll continue. Okay, peak oil. The era of cheap energy is over. Other resource scarcity, the resource challenge of the next 20 years will be quite different from any we have seen in the past. It brings to mind paving of the roads, and that'll come up later. But you're trying to play catch up on what was formerly known as the hot mix program, and I know that you're ahead of other municipalities who are now having to cut their transit system because they're way behind on their hot mix paving. And we're kind of okay on that, we're catching up. But the more you widen roads, the more you have to keep catching up. There's always going to be wider roads to pave. Resource scarcity talks to that. Ecological footprint, you know about this, and there's a nice little graph here that shows you where we are now, and if we keep going business as usual, we're going to need more than 2 Earths by the year 2050 to sustain the population of the Earth. And if we do some reduction in some conservation and so on, we could possibly get back to 1 Earth. But the farther we go, we're not going to be able to get back to 1 Earth. Today, the green economy is widely recognized as an opportunity, the key to unlocking new jobs and growth. Global investment in green energy has grown every year, and there were some other things about growth in the green economy. There's all kinds of green economy sectors: energy, food, waste diversion, and so on and so on. The clean economy is growing faster than the rest of the economy. There's a higher median wage in the green economy. There's more opportunities for low and medium skilled workers, more manufacturing and export intensive than the rest of the economy. There's some examples of cities that have embraced the green economy. Portland, Oregon seeks to build the most sustainable economy in the world and become the capital of the global green economy. They project this will create 10,000 jobs in 5 years. And so there's some strategies there for how they're going to do that, maximizing opportunities. It's a lot of innovation and stimulating economic activities in neighborhoods. So relocalizing is something that the environmental movement is talking about. Vancouver, BC has a goal of securing Vancouver's international reputation as a mecca of green enterprise. They want to double the number of green jobs in the next 10 years and double the number of companies that are actively engaged in greening their operations. Guelph, Ontario is home to Canadian Solar, the largest solar manufacturer in Canada with 500 jobs. We had Solar Semiconductor wanting to come to Oakville. What's happened with that? I think that's been 2 years. Guelph has embraced solar. Guelph has a community energy plan that aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 60% by 2031 while growing by 50,000 more citizens. Our community energy plan says we're struggling to cut emissions by 6% over the next 5 years or something like that. Can we embrace the green economy and use it to maybe dream a little bigger? Guelph has 2 solar co-ops in the city. This presentation I went to is actually in Guelph, so I think they were doing a little boasting. Hamilton City Council has passed a motion declaring their support for the development of the green economy. They're going to be assembling windmills there. There's untapped opportunities. So the building sector accounts for 30 to 40% of global energy use. And when I heard that, I thought about Oakville and how there's so many homes that are being torn down, perfectly good homes, and these massive houses are being put up. I saw the map in our the environmental strategic plan that shows areas of town where there's excess energy use, and let's say it's where all the big houses are. So as a council, maybe you can do something like put in regulations where you can't tear down a house and put up a larger house unless you're disposing of all the waste in an environmentally responsible manner and maximizing the energy efficiency on that house. You've got construction guidelines for North Oakville. Can you do that also for infill? Waste. Sorting and processing recyclables sustains up to 10 times more jobs than landfilling. So that's an industry there. It's an opportunity for an industry that isn't being exploited here. And then there's transportation. And one of the things that Joanna has said in previous years, but didn't say this time, is that, is it like for every 10 million you spend on transit, you create, I don't remember. But it's investment in transit is not money wasted. It grows jobs and it creates, it gives you mobility, frees up gridlock and does all kinds of things. It's an economic benefit. The more you put in transit, the better you are. So it's not lost money. 16 seconds. This is a little more on transportation. That's okay, I think I'm on the last slide or something. So there, there I am. Okay, great. That was kind of unplanned, so
Thank you very much,
did
Mayor
okay.
Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A marvelous piece of extemporaneous timing. You must have a clock in the back of the head. Thank you for your remarks about the program formerly known as hot mix paving. I just hasten to make sure that you understand that we don't widen roads when we do the program formerly known as hot mix paving. All we do is make them is we repair them so that your bus ride is smoother.
Yes, I do recognize that. My comment was that in other parts of the budget, you're wanting to widen roads, as Joanna mentioned, and so on. So the more you widen roads, the more paving you have to do in future to fix those roads.
In some cases, we need to widen roads to make room for buses and bicycles.
But do you? Can you remove a lane and convert it? This was what we were asking for years ago when QEW, I don't know, okay, I'm going to, people are going to hate me, but can you, instead of adding a lane for HOV, can you convert a lane into HOV?
We are dedicated to a proposition that we're still going to provide choice and we're still going to provide room. Our idea is that everybody should share the road. We aren't going to go down the path of driving people, making it impossible to go on. There was a time when people thought that in order to get people on the bus, you'd have to drive them there by making it impossible to go any other way. But in the end, all that does is catch your bus in the resulting congestion too. So, no. But thanks for the suggestion.
Any others? Thank you very much. We appreciate the information. And we are on to Mr. Bruce Kaplan. Welcome, and you have up to 10 minutes.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. First of all, I just want to mention that I've lived in Oakville for 30 years, and more and more I see that Oakville loves cars. They love cars. When I came here to Glen Abbey 30 years ago, there weren't a lot of cars in Oakville, and the car population just seems to have exploded. So I'm going to talk about transit. And I want to preface my remarks by saying that I do believe in public transit, but not at $17 million a year. I want to put a couple of things in perspective, if I may. My associate Rob Boak has accumulated with Mr. Cole's help the number of boardings in the past year on Oakville buses. I believe the figures that I was given were just over 2.8 million boardings for the whole year. I don't know if that agrees with your figures or not, but that's approximately what it is. I'm going to be very generous in my calculations. So that's 2.8 for the year. If I divide that by 50 weeks and not 52 weeks, it means that we have just over 57,000 boardings a week. If I divide that by 5 days and not 7 days, again, I'm being very generous with this, we come up to 11,497 boardings a day. So let's round it off at 12,000 boardings a day. I'm going to assume out of those 12,000 boardings that, and I'm going to be generous with this also, that those boardings are one-way only, okay? So that's 6,000 residents using the bus going one way only. I'm going to take the other 6,000 and say that they go and they come. So that would bring it down to 3,000. So that would make a total of 9,000 residents or 9,000 people using the bus daily. I've taken the liberty of sitting at Oakville GO Station a couple of mornings, and I've noticed, especially in the winter, that there's a number of students that come off the buses, and I guess they're going to Sheridan College, and I estimate that to be probably maybe 500 people a day coming from the east out here, getting off the train early in the morning and taking our buses. So if I deduct that $500, those 500 people, we're left with 8,500 Oakville residents using the bus on a daily basis. I want to repeat this. 8,500 Oakville residents using the bus on a daily basis. And I'm being very generous with that figure. If I take the deficit, according to your figures, of $17 million for the 2012 budget, that means that we are subsidizing each rider to the tune of $2,000 a year. If I took your total operating budget, which I believe is about $239 million, and I took off the Oakville Transit deficit of $17 million, leaving $220 million of the operating budget, dividing that by 175,000 residents of Oakville, it comes to about $1,200 per resident. Yet we're spending $2,000 per resident who use the bus system. I think there's a couple of issues here. Either we reduce the cost of operating the buses, or we charge more for the people using the buses. I feel that subsidizing the residents, the people that are using the buses, $2,000 a year is absolutely ridiculous and not fair to the other taxpayers who are not able to use the bus and don't want to use the bus. I also found it interesting in this report dated September 30th, 2011. I don't know where this statement came from, but it said that overall citizen satisfaction with transit is at 53% in Oakville, 46% in Burlington, and 57% in Guelph. Almost 1/3 of Oakville residents identify themselves as regular transit users. I think that's a ridiculous figure. It's right here. I don't know what that statement means, but I think it's not true.
Well, let me help you with that.
Yep.
The assumption where you went astray and made you unable to sync up with the survey results is you assumed that you had only 8,500 users, and that's because you assumed that you had...
Mayor Burton, I mean...
I'm trying to help him, I'm not arguing.
No,
I
don't mind.
Are you
made
done in your presentation?
No, I just had one other comment. Go ahead, I don't mind.
You made a crucial assumption that you had daily traffic, that you had, that each user used it full time. And what we in fact find is that it's not quite that simple. There are people who are not constant users, and so when you work that into your calculation, your 8,500 will come up. That's all.
Yeah, that's fine, but how much is it going to come up? But I don't believe that...
Well, remember, it's against households when you're looking at the survey. So you got 60,000 versus 8,500. You know, without too much imagination, you can see how that would change. I don't think this changes your argument in the least, doesn't take anything away.
No.
If you recalculated the subsidy, you'd still be subsidizing the bus
Absolutely,
ride.
absolutely. But I just felt that this statement was misleading, okay? If you would have said households, it would have been better. I'm just taking it from your own information here.
I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that you needed that explanation. Thank you for letting me give it to you.
Thank you. So I just wanted to point out something, and I don't know whether this is the philosophy of the region, the philosophy of the town, but this is a quote from Councillor John Taylor in Burlington. And I think some of it does apply to the region, and I don't know if the thinking is the same in Oakville, but I find it a little bit distressing. He says that he's talking about the roads, how they're going to be more congested and so forth. And he says this means that active transportation, walking and cycling, must increase from approximately 3 to 5% by 2031. And transit use must increase from approximately 5%, that's probably what we're running at, 5% of residents using our transit, to 20%. I think it's a pipe dream, it's not going to happen. And I get very discouraged and very upset when in a free society we're being told how to manage our own transportation and how we're going to get to work, go to school, and so forth. So I think this is this statement by this councillor is very, very distressing.
Are you
I'm
finished
done.
with your statements? Thank you very much.
I'm done.
Councillor Demoff, and then I'll go back to Mayor Burton.
Thank you for coming. You've obviously spent a lot of time going through the numbers for Oakville Transit. Have you looked at any of the other services that the town provides to see what kind of subsidy per person is put into those?
No, I did not.
Because we do run a number of programs, and I suspect if you looked at other ones, and I'm going to pick on one that I quite like, is outdoor pool use. And I think if you looked at the subsidy on that, and I'm not trying to put them on the chopping block, but there's a
Keep going, you're doing it. Yeah, this is interesting.
And I'm only saying that one because I know the numbers for it, but there's a number of programs that we run that if you did the same analysis on them, I think you would find that the town, as a government, subsidizes programs for the citizens.
Absolutely, I know that. I understand that. My complaint is that the people that are using Oakville Transit are not paying their fair share. And I said I support public transit. I realize that we can't make money with it. I realize that it has to be a town expense, but not at $17 million. And if you reduced it by $5 million, we wouldn't have a tax increase.
But I guess what I'm saying is Mr. Jenner was just here tonight speaking about the hockey league and the fact that we're trying to bring that up to cost recovery. But for all of the other rentals that we have, we've tried to keep them below cost recovery. So I mean, I don't want to argue with you.
No, but I'm not suggesting we bring it up to cost recovery. I'm just a little bit more from the people that are using it, or get rid of some of the bus routes, which I understand is being done, but still not to the extent that it should be.
Thank you.
Actually,
Mayor Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. All I wanted to have some mic time for is to help you with, was it Mr. Taylor? I couldn't hear you.
John Taylor.
Okay. I wanted to try to help your understanding of Mr. Taylor's remarks. And do you live in Glen Abbey by any chance?
No, I don't. I did at one time.
Where do you live?
I'm at 40 Old Mill, right beside the Oakville GO station, on Old Mill Road.
Okay.
In the condo there.
All right. Well, your former counselor here, if you used to live in Glen Abbey.
I did.
He and Councillor Taylor and several of the rest of us on the regional council were quite critical in the same way you were of those statistics. And our worry was that first off, they're targets or predictions or forecasts. They're not, you must. They are more like, gee, we hope. And our concern was, what the study that surfaced all that is there for is to support the development charges for transportation infrastructure into the future as we grow in the region of Halton. And so we were agitated and concerned that these rosy assumptions might be causing us to under-collect for the roads that would be needed if those changes didn't happen. And in the end, we wound up being assured that enough was still being collected so that would not in fact happen. But that's why that discussion was in the paper. That's why that discussion came up. And the nuance that was missed is that those weren't orders. Those were consultants saying, boy, we sure hope it comes to this. I mean, really, it was, in fact, one of our attacks was these numbers are wishful thinking. So I hope that sets your mind more at ease, that you're not being dictated on that front.
Yeah, I really wonder sometimes, and I don't want to debate with you, but I really wonder sometimes if politicians, and I'm talking about politicians in general, realize that Canadians have a love affair with cars. Because there always seems to be an anti-car trust going on to a certain extent. But Canadians want to drive cars, and it's a known fact. North Americans want to drive cars. And I'm quite amazed that, you know, I look at the QEW every day, and people from Oakville getting on the QEW and driving all the way downtown when GO Transit is available to them. But people just love to drive.
I don't believe you've ever heard a Halton politician, and I certainly, I'm not, you know what, lots goes on in Halton that we don't know about in Oakville, and that's fine. I don't believe you've ever heard an Oakville politician speak against cars. Earlier tonight, you could have heard me say, you know, quite the reverse, that we provide for all. And I hope that gave you a little bit of comfort.
I heard that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You're not quite done. Councillor Elgar had something.
Thanks for coming. When you were pretty hard on transit. It seems like when you got out your microscope, you focused on the transit, which is 17,377,500. Fine, that's good. And you know, you're saying we can't afford to subsidize that much. And you had your calculation of your 8,500 actual users. Did you look at, okay, and it's just to be on the, you know, be fair to everybody, did you look at how many fires we have in Oakville and that we're paying, you're subsidizing $28 million to the fire department?
I really don't have a problem or an issue with that. Okay, to me, it's really a safety issue. It's protection for people and so forth. I don't have a problem with that. All right. I do have a problem if you're bringing something else up. I do have a problem with the total salaries that we pay in this town. I do have a problem with the sunshine list, but that's a discussion for another time, and we can discuss that if you want.
Yeah, and the infrastructure also, like infrastructure is 17 million for the roads and everything. You don't have a problem with that either?
I don't have a problem with that, okay, because I feel that the usage on the roads and the cars and the taxes we're paying subsidize a good part of that, as I indicated, and I'm wrong, but certainly with Oakville Transit, with the number of people that are using Oakville Transit, this is what my issue is. I think there's more people, I may be wrong, just from what I see, there must be more people using the roads than people using the buses.
You're absolutely right. You know that.
Know that.
But I'm trying to, in trying to be fair and balanced through the whole budget, of the $146 million tax levy, 17 million is for transit, and, everything else, it is, the difference is everything else that you are paying for as an Oakville resident.
The point is that Oakville Transit is not the choice of people in this town. I know there are some people here that would like to see it that way, but it is not the choice of people in this town. It is, okay?
Yeah, and I hear you, but it's the choice of some people in this
It's the
town.
choice of some people, but it's not the choice of the majority of people.
Right, well,
That's,
yeah.
okay.
Could we, this is one delegate at a time, please. I understand that there are two different sides here this evening, but he's having his time and others have already had theirs.
I don't mind. I know these ladies are very nice ladies. I know, they're very nice ladies. I've served with.
Mr. Kaplan, I know you can take it, but all the same, we have rules of procedure and decorum in our chamber. Thank you. Mayor Burton.
Thank you. Mr. Kaplan, will I be accurate if after tonight I will describe your information in part as including a degree of support for transit, as you said, and the degree apparently is up to $12 million, but that's $5 million too far, rounding off rapidly here. Is that my understanding of your position?
That's my position.
We're not
maybe 13
increasing.
million.
We're not increasing transit by $5 million in this budget. You understand?
I understand that, but
So
I've
my
complained
question
about this
is,
before.
And it isn't going to, it's a hypothetical question, I grant in advance. I don't perceive any appetite on council to do this, but, and you are talking to the only member of council who's ever proposed cutting any routes, so far with not much success. So I think I know what I'm talking about when I say cutting transit's probably not on. But if council were to cut it by $5 million this year, so that it was at this level that you were happy with, and then in a future year, we were going to raise taxes or raise the amount of levy by some amount. I'm going after the fact that the degree of your support for transit just happens to be coincident with the amount it would take to remove the tax increase.
Oh, I just took a stab at that. I didn't do that calculation.
Would you be back again saying now we need to cut it down again?
Cut transit or cut something else?
Would transit get off your target after that?
Yeah, I would get off my target for a bit, yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Then we'll get on to something else. Thank you very much. Thank you for your good humor.
Thank you. We are always happy to see you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone through the listed delegates. Is there anybody else in the chamber here tonight who would like to speak before the committee? Going once, going twice, sold? Okay. We will in a moment, we'll be recessing and we'll be returning on Tuesday, February 7th at 9:30 in this chamber again. At that time, there are 5 delegates that are currently listed. There may be more by then. And for those who have been sticking around or are trying to figure out what happens next, Thursday, February 9th at 9:30 in the morning, the committee will reconvene to go through deliberations. We'll be receiving additional information from our staff on the various issues that the committee's asked for more information on. And either at that meeting or the meeting that would come after that one, we would make a recommendation to council. And council would be seeing the recommendation on March 5th, and that would be the date that we'd be targeting for passing the Oakville budget. So just so everyone in the room here understands what the process is going forward and where we're heading, that's where we're going. So at this time, I'll recess, and we'll see everybody again on Tuesday morning.